The next topic I'd like to discuss is what happens after signing the franchise agreement. Now, if the franchise requires a commercial site, you're going to be working with a commercial real estate agent to start that search for a location which meets the site selection criteria that the franchisor has set up. I would also advise you to do your own research and determine what characteristics of the site would allow you to be as successful as possible. Okay. Once the franchisor has approved the site, the next thing that's going to happen is you will start planning the build out for the location. The franchisor might have a designer that you work with in order to plan that build out, and you will meet with several contractors to get quotes based on the build out requirements and based on the locality, and then choose a contractor to implement the construction. Okay, once you've chosen a construction, the next step is to obtain permits. A lot of times the contractor will handle that process, but you do want to be aware of any permitting requirements within your locality and the timeline for that. Okay, so once you receive the permit to start construction, be involved in the construction process as much as possible. Check in every day. Make sure that any mistakes are remedied as quickly as possible. During that construction process, there are going to be several inspections, and then that's going to lead up to one final inspection, which would lead you to get the certificate of occupancy. Okay, and in that meantime, you also want to make sure that you are planning the furnishing for that location, purchasing anything that's required. A lot of times, furnishings, fixtures might take time to arrive. So you want to give yourself ample time to receive all of those items so you can furnish that location before opening. Okay. And additionally, you want to work with a local signage company to design any signage that needs to be put up and have it mounted in time for the opening. Next, you're going to need to do research on licenses and permits required for your business to operate, right? Different industries have different restrictions. So a good place to start would be the Secretary of State. A lot of times they will have resources and point you in the right direction to determine whether you have to be licensed or permitted in any way, okay? In the background during all of this, usually initial training is going on. Different franchisors might have different ways of handling initial training. Many times there's several components to that initial training. For example, a portion of it might be online or in person. The second part of it could be more hands-on, where you're visiting another franchisee's location. Okay. Once initial training is completed, you need to work with the franchisor and any vendor that they require to plan the grand opening marketing. So it is to your benefit to market your business before and after the opening so that, you start on a high note. And, you want to be involved in this process of planning the marketing and making sure everything is in place to then smoothly transition to operations after that grand opening. You should also talk with the franchisor about the vendor relationships that they have and what kind of accounts you need to open. Start building those relationships with vendors, with contractors, anybody that you're going to be interacting with and that you need to operate your business. So a lot of times establishing accounts requires credit checks. It requires, maybe even background checks. So give yourself ample time to be able to establish those accounts and establish those relationships. Next, work with the franchisors, vendors, marketing vendor to establish your online presence. This is super important nowadays. You want to make sure that you are on all of the online directories so that, when people search for you on Google, that they're able to find you easily, right? Additionally, maybe you want to talk to some local advertising sources like local magazines, look at Nextdoor, any other local sources of advertising. You should be setting those up during this time. Another important aspect is if you are going to be hiring employees or hiring managers, right? First of all, understand what the requirements are for these initial hires, what you're looking for, and the franchisor might have advice that they're able to provide you on that. And start that process of trying to find the right people, because it really does take a long time to find people that you're going to be able to work with within your franchise and, meet all of your requirements. And then the very last thing is, of course, the actual opening of the franchise. And, maybe you want to plan a grand opening event where you officially open for business. So you might want to meet with the Chamber of Commerce, for example, and have some exposure that way. So these are usually the things that happen immediately after signing the franchise agreement. There might be more things that, smaller things that happen when all of this is going on, but you should understand all of these requirements up front and be prepared for it.